from what I've read, it's actually a really progressive approach that you have in terms of microdosing and psychedelics,
Yeah.
um, as a way of, like, call it performance enhancement professionally. Um, there's obviously some stigma around this stuff, but I've never heard it or seen it described in that sort of way. So I'm really curious to hear about that. But what led you down this path, and what were some of the significant moments in your life?
Yeah, so like many people who are in the psychedelic space, I came there for my own personal needs because, to your point, there is still a stigma around it. So it's not necessarily something that is the first thing that comes to you. And for context, my background is in finance. I worked for 20 years in finance, and I was a venture capitalist. So in Silicon Valley, in the technology world and the VC world over there, microdosing psychedelics for performance is actually something that is, I'm not going to say common, but definitely not uncommon. People really, really use it. And the thing that's very interesting is that we're all focusing on performance. It sounds great, sounds exciting, but the best value is really for your mental wellness. And you cannot really be performant if your mental health is not there first, you know? So if you microdose psychedelic, and I use a protocol, not just microdosing psychedelic, but also other alternative medicine, such as tapping meditations, guided meditation, journaling, that type of things. You're really, really gonna see a nice improvement in your mood, in your level of energy, calming your body. We were talking about the fight or flight a little bit before, calming your body and rewiring your brain. And all of that really supports you in better performance, better mental health, but also better awareness of yourself and others. So all of that works together. Yeah.
It sounds like a very integrative approach. So you're saying you combine a number. It's not like just one thing. It's a whole system of integration.
Yeah, I don't really believe in the one size fits all approach, one tool for everyone all the time. And I play tennis, so it's very interesting when you play a sport. Everyone understand that yes, you need to practice your tennis, your game, but you need to weight lift, you need to eat properly, you need to sleep well. But when it comes to our mental health or mental performance, we think just meditation or just mindset is enough, but it's not the case. So that's, I would say, the first myth buster. The second myth buster with mental health is that people think it's one and done. You're doing one thing, maybe therapy, and then it's done. But you're not going once to the gym and expecting to be fit all your life. You're not eating one good meal and expecting to be slim all your life. So it's mental health, performance, all of that. We still have a very one lane type of approach. So that's all my protocol. The Microdose diet is very different. It's very 360.
Mm. So what are we talking in terms of the actual microdose things to microdose? My experience, I've only experienced mushrooms recreationally, the standard trip to Amsterdam. And it's not psychedelics, but I do use a little bit of CBD oil, and I find that quite no, but that's not considered psychedelics, is it?
No,
So
the THC
the
in
mm,
cannabis would be considered psychedelic, but not the CBD. There is no hallucinogenic active ingredients. So, it's funny because I never took any psychedelics recreationally before I started
oh wow.
microdosing. So I had absolutely no experience with any type of drugs, to be totally honest. Not that I'm judging, it's just not the thing I was doing. And so when I started exploring that for myself, I did a lot of research, and you can microdose, to your point, with LSD, with DMT, with a ton of psychedelics. But I recommend, and I microdose with psilocybin, which is the magic mushrooms. And I recommend that simply because it's easier for, I'm sorry, my camera just stopped. I'm sorry for
Yeah,
that.
that's okay.
It's easier for sourcing quality ingredients, and it's easier as well to have, I would say, very cheap ingredients. Magic mushrooms are actually extremely cheap. You can grow them at home, and you're gonna have very good results with that. So I really, really like microdosing with mushrooms, actually.
So is how do you say it? Psilocybin?
Psilocybin,
So yeah,
yeah, that's the active component with it.
that's what I was going to ask. That's the active component in the mushroom. So that's extracted from the the mushrooms and microdosed.
Yeah, well, what's actually interesting is that when you take it in your body, it's your body that's transforming it in psilocybin. So by itself, the ingredient in the mushroom is not active. It's the combination with your body that makes
Ah,
it active.
ah,
So
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, so in terms of quantity, and that's the thing that people who are listening, if they're interested in dabbling, first I recommend research. Do your research, always super important. But also you really want to look at taking 5 to 10% of the dosage that would be a recreational dosage. So for microdosing, you will take only 100 milligram, and you take only 100 milligram every 3 days, every 2 days. If you're microdosing with LSD, you're not taking 100 milligram, you're going to take a micron. So that's why it's very important to explain that it is specifically for mushrooms that 100 milligram would be a microdose.
Yeah, no, I understand. And what's the so what are the legalities around the psilocybin?
And that's the beauty of what's happening right now. You see a lot happenings on the regulatory front. So some places have legalized, some places have decriminalized, some places are giving special access. For some places, it is still criminal. So it really depends on where you are. But I would say everywhere in the westernized world, a lot of work is happening with regulators, with scientists, in order to really give more access to a wider population.
Without denying kind of modern medicine, I'm always just a firm believer in natural things from the earth. So you've personally found it to be of great benefit, the psilocybin.
Oh, for me, it has really been a game changer. For the three buckets I was mentioning, the mental health, so anxiety, stress, depression, so that has really helped me tremendously. Then performance, it's really like this increased focus, but also improvement of your cognitive abilities, such as memory, for example, and more creativity. So that is great. You see more doors,
Mm.
like you see more options that you might not be able. I'm sure many people who are listening today, they might feel stuck sometime. And that's what I really enjoy with microdosing psilocybin, is that it kind of unlock
Mm.
your creative process, and the self-awareness, but also the awareness to other is really helpful when, especially you work with teams. We live in society, we're interacting with people all day long, even if we're a solopreneur. So all of that really increase your sense of compassion.
Mm.
So I would say, like my only regret is that I didn't do that 20 years ago. My life would have been so much more successful and pleasant, but better late than never.
Yeah. I've even found, even just with the CBD oil, that it oh, you're back. That's cool. No, that's not. It's good to see you. I I've even found, just with the CBD, you know, as a creative person myself, I have quite a, you know, this self-critique. I used to have it quite a lot. I've got much better at handling the self-critique, but I found the CBD has sort of, not in a passive way, but taken the edge off that a little bit. Do you find that the psilocybin makes you less kind of hard on yourself?
Well, so personally, I used to have tremendous level of, self-hatred and self-loathing, and the best thing is that I was not even aware of that. I just thought it was normal to be tough, tough love, especially after 20 years in North America, which is very about pain and hustle. But I think psilocybin is extremely helpful. Again, it is not a magic pill. So I really want to, and I'm sure you have, in addition to the CBD, you're taking a practice, whatever it might be. So I look at all these tools like CBD or psilocybin as amplifier of the practices you are doing. So someone, and I have many people around me who are just taking just microdosing, which is already great. They see some benefits in terms of calming the body, better mental health. But if you really want to go to the next level, like you were mentioning, really solving emotional wounds, for example, or releasing limiting belief, the psychedelic is not doing that for you. Like you need to
Yeah.
combine it with some more mindful practice. Again, tapping meditation, I really love it. Journaling is always easy. And what I really like is that, the idea of always depending on a medical professional, that is very problematic from my perspective. I think people need to have the power in their own
Mm.
hands. First, not everyone has access to a medical professional. Second, it's very expensive. So I think it is very important to have all these protocols, whether it's mine, whether it's someone else, doesn't matter, but that are cheap and accessible and easy.
Mhm.
And I think that's where we see more and more the industry kind of going, with people like you and I who are like, okay, guess what? I'm not a psychotherapist. I'm not coaching you. I wrote a book. I'm putting together an online course. I develop a microdosing product. I do public speaking. This is what I do. I'm not taking clients one-on-one. I'm not, trying to make people become dependent on me. I'm here to give them the tools, and as much as they give, they're gonna get.
Mm.
But I'm not spoon feeding them.
No, but it's awesome that you're coming from your own experience. You know, I think often with doctors, not to discredit health care professionals, but like you know, you're actually coming from your own personal experience there and your own personal benefit. So it really makes sense to listen to you in regard to your experience. How have the more corporate people you've interacted with in companies, how have they responded to talking about this stuff and trying it?
Yeah. So it's interesting because on one end, people are suffering. So they're really begging for a solution, and unfortunately, the mental health crisis we've been seeing unfold over the last few decades, and even more during the last few years, have really shown the limits of therapy plus antidepressants, which was everything that we were supposed to do. But on the other hand, despite the fact that they have not been successful, they're suffering, they are very frightened based on the stigma, the legality, and that I find is going to require even more education, at least for the stigma. Obviously, the legality, well, that's going to be a change in regulation. But I see many people try because they were like me. The suffering was so much.
Mm,
The hope was greater than the fear. And I
mm.
think for people to go in that direction, you need the hope to be bigger than the fear, because still the stigma, still the legality aspect is a block for many of them.
Yeah, and the this continual state of fight or flight that a lot of us seem to be in this modern age, where the body is just continuously on like response mode when it doesn't need to be. It's really crazy, just with, with all the stimulus around us, and just, yeah, a lot of us are in this constant state of fight or
Yeah.
flight. And I don't think we're really realizing the impact of our environment and what that's doing to our nervous system. Um,
Yeah.
if this helps provide, as you say, it's an integrative process. It's not one magic solution, but if this can help that's an awesome thing.
Well, because like, and that's why I don't support one tool and one approach type of protocol, because you have obviously the mind-body connection. So if you just use the mind, the body is going to override it every time. You're talking about the nervous system. But if you just talk about the nervous system and your limiting beliefs are still there, same thing, it's going to override. So everything needs to work together. And very often, at least in North America, the mindset work is very strong. People are mindset, positive affirmation, all that stuff. But what's very interesting is that the mind, only 1/7 of the mind is conscious, the rest is subconscious. So we're focusing on this 1/7. We're not touching the body, we're not touching the unconscious, and we're like, oh la la, let's write my positive affirmations, and then we wonder why it's not working, So that's, sorry, go ahead.
No, when you frame it like that, like if you could see that in context, the tiny part relative to the rest. And it's like you said with creativity, sometimes I kind of rely on a routine, and particularly with writing, like a routine and a practice. But sometimes the creativity just comes in the middle of the night. Like it doesn't come at 10 a.m. on the Tuesday morning. So anything like you say that helps open those doors and access what you're saying, this greater part that we're not really, this subconscious part. I just see that as like a world of potential there.
Yeah, well, and keep in mind that if your body is tight, the creativity is not flowing really either, And when you increase the awareness to yourself, but also to others and the world around you, that increase your creativity. So at least the whole premises for my approach is about removing the blocks. Let's remove the foot from the brake. Well, very often it's about let's push the accelerator more. We're already exhausted. I don't think I want to push my accelerator more. I just want to remove, the weight I have at my ankle, to take another image. And so again, calming the body, removing limiting belief, healing emotional wounds, that is very important as well. All of that is not about adding stuff. All of that is about removing resistance, blockage, call it whatever you want,
It's spot on. This less thing is so hard, but so I've learnt it myself. I think so many of us have been on this acceleration, busy, 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 but it's not necessarily conducive. You may do a lot less, and like you say, look after yourself and get your well-being in check, and then things may come through that make you so much more, call it productive, even though you've done a lot less. But again, it's so counterintuitive, and it takes so much uh so much reframing to take this less approach. Yeah.
And what is extremely important in the work that I'm doing is critical thinking. It's removing the conditioning. And what you mentioned is exactly that, is that we've been conditioned to, again, no pain, no gain, a soul culture. So and your body get extremely anxious, not just your mind. Try to sit for like 20 minutes, even 5 minutes. Let's start 5 minutes on your sofa without turning on the TV, without looking at your email. you're gonna feel the anxiety come, you know? And the anxiety is coming from you being so wired, but also being guilty because you've been brainwashed that you need to be constantly productive to be a good person. So it's all these things that we need to work on again, because you calm the body, that's great. But if in the back of your mind you still have, oh my God, I suck. I sat down for 10 minutes. Oh my God, I suck. I could have made that email. That's not really helping anything. So that's why everything needs to be addressed concurrently.
Yeah, for sure. It's a tradition on the show to have guests offer some kind of challenge. Now,
Yes.
it can be based on a discussion or something you might have thought of, or based on the microdosing.
Yeah.
Is there something that you would like to offer to the listeners?
Yes. I have two challenges.
Oh,
So
great.
people can pick the ones they want, or even better, they can do both. The first, when it comes to psychedelics, microdosing, I would recommend people do some research. Inform yourself, like you don't have to believe what I say. Absolutely don't believe what anyone say. Mosaic theory. You can use so many tools right now. So that would be my recommendation. If you want to allocate an hour to that, do your research so you'll be more informed, because the problem is when you're not informed, you're susceptible to believe what people say. And that's my second challenge, which is increasing your critical thinking. And I would, challenge you for a day, a week, how long you want, to question everything that is coming to you with, is it really true? Is it true? Is it true? Because you would realize that a lot of the things we take for granted are not actually necessarily true. Like there are many things we believed 5 years ago and 10 years ago and 15 years ago. And, science change, culture change, you change. So question yourself. So that would be my two challenges.
They're great. I like that they go hand in hand.
Yes.
The research, and then the active, like, critical thinking aspect. It's true. It's a bit of a once you start that critical thinking process, you start to uncover it. I mean, it's as basic as, like, when you start to read the ingredients on processed things, and then you realize that there's these codes and you don't know what the codes are, and then when you look at the code, it just go,
Yeah. And like I don't want to be a complot theorist. That's absolutely not where I'm coming from. But I think it's important when you're mentioning like that, the food and beverage
Mm.
industry or the healthcare industry. Question yourself, who benefit from that? Is it you, the patient, the consumer, or is it large corporation? Is it the government? Again, I'm not doing the complot theory, but look at that. Who benefit from having you eating foods that are processed, ultra processed, and not best for your mind, body, spirit, energy level? So, who benefit from that?
Yeah. No, that's a really cool, unique two-part challenge. Um, what are the best resources for the research? Like, just general, is there a specific?
It is very, very easy now to research anything you want. You don't have, I'm 47, so I used to go to the library when I was a kid. Now, you just go on your phone. So it's very easy. Google, scientific studies. If you're a fan of ChatGPT, you have access to hundreds of thousands of scientific studies. So compare medical opinions, scientist opinions, people like me who are actually practitioners and enthusiasts, and look at what was happening in the 50s. Look at what has been happening in indigenous societies for 100 years, and then use that little, again, mosaic theory to see what is your own conclusion. We might not come to the same conclusion, and that's fine, but at least come with your own conclusions based on your own research versus things that, I don't know, maybe a health teacher taught you when you were 18 years old,
Yeah, like we say, undoing some of that conditioning through well-informed research.
Exactly.
Yeah. Where can people find you and your work?
Yes, so it's quite easy. So my book's going to be published in early May, so they can find it on Amazon. And the book is called The Microdose Diet, so it's easy, and that's my name as an author. They can find me on Substack as well. I write a weekly newsletter, so they can find a lot of tips and a lot of information. And they can go on my website, themicrodosediet.com, and we'll have a lot of information on everything, the online course, all that great stuff, but also a lot of content I put together, which is not, again, definitive content. A lot of that is to get people's creative and inquisitional flows going, like, what if it was not true? What
Yeah,
if
yeah,
it's more than meet the eye,
yeah. Just out of interest, do you have any knowledge of ayahuasca?
So I've never tried ayahuasca. I know many, many people who have. They enjoyed it very much. For me, I started microdosing, and then I went on to a journey with mushrooms. So, and what I mean by journey is bigger dose with shaman. I didn't do that alone in my basement. I would absolutely not recommend anyone to do that type of journey on their own. Do it with professionals. And so I've always stuck to mushrooms because I really like the medicine. It works well for me. Maybe
Mm,
ayahuasca would, but it does not come across, and what's happening here is that a lot of the ayahuasca trip are in Costa Rica, in
mm.
Mexico, places like that. And I wanted to stay local, so I did my mushroom journey in Canada, which was on the West Coast, but still localish, same country.
Yeah, no, interesting. I just wondered about that, but yeah, no, it sounds like a fascinating journey. Keen to keen to learn more and do my own research, as you've said, particularly about the psilocybin. I still can't seem to say it properly. Psilocybin.
Style, style. Trust me, it took me months to master that word. So don't worry about it. And again, if I can really impress on the listeners, it's the importance of the entire protocol. So even if you're just quoting microdosing, what is your intention? Connect to your intention when you take your microdose. Come back to your intention. And the integration, again, journaling, tapping, meditation is very important to get the most of the medicine. So I would recommend, don't just pop it as if you would pop your vitamin C or whatever.
Yeah.
Connect again to what you're looking to achieve. Be present with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to have a thing where I would, like, once I was having some digestion issues, and I heard that some kind of root tablet was, or some kind of natural root was good for this issue. And so I found these tablets, and then I just like basically popped too many, and it actually put my heartbeat out of like whack, like was giving me like
Right.
palpitations. And then I actually read the thing, and it was like take only one, not four. And I just sort of was a bit silly with that. So yeah, it's definitely
Yeah, it is a medicine. It is a medicine.
yeah, exactly. Well, no, it's fascinating. I really appreciate your time, and I think we've covered quite a bit in a short amount of time. Is there anything we haven't covered that you might like to add for anybody who might be struggling, or
Well, there is one thing I really want to mention, which is whether you're looking for, more for growth in your life, it is always the same foundation. So if you're facing a constant patterns in your life, whether your professional life, your personal life, it is a common challenge, a limiting belief, an emotional wound, something that has not been resolved. So instead of taking more training to improve your career, or I don't know, do on more dating or do more diet, look at what is that foundational root problem and address it, and you'll see your life change, because it will impact all areas of your life. So look at the root instead of looking at the leaves, if I can make that
Mm.
that image. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. It's really like focus on getting that foundational thing right, and then the rest falls into place, as opposed to like trying to get the external stuff first. Because if that foundational stuff is out of whack, or there's something there, like it's just going to repeat, like you say.
Exactly.
So really get to the core, it's
That's
not
why
a
you, sorry, go ahead. Sorry,
it's
Daniel.
not an easy thing to do, but
It is.
but uh that like you say, that you can really like prosper
Yeah.
from benefit from that.
Exactly, because otherwise you're going to see a lot of self-sabotage. It's
Mm.
like finance aspect of boom and bust. That's exactly that. Or I gain weight, I lose weight. I have a promotion, I get fired, or I resign. So look at your patterns. Whatever is not satisfactory in your life, look at what might be causing that, and be the best detective of your own life. No one can do it for you. You're the best expert of yourself.
For sure. And with this integrative approach, as you've said, as a whole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, awesome, Peggy. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Daniel. It was a pleasure, and thank you very much to your audience for listening. If there are any questions, come back to me. I'll be always happy to answer. I think it was a great. We touched on so many things. A great conversation. Thank you so much, Daniel.